Long ago, Ciboney stood as one of Jamaica's shining stars in the tourism sector.
But everything changed when the 1990 financial crash attacked.
Decades later, Ciboney remains a shadow of its former glory. But what if there's hope on the horizon?
Join us as we unravel the tale of Ciboney, its past, present, and potential future.
This is an episode you don't want to miss. Hi everyone, my name's Theon and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. Joining us as always is Matthew. Hail up the people and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Excellent. So, we've heard a lot of chatter on the market recently about a specific company, and we mentioned them in the last episode. You guys can check that out. How to pick a stock, beginner's guide. And it's about Ciboney. All right. So I think we'll be diving into Ciboney and why Ciboney is such a topical company currently on the market. A lot of people are talking about it. Been seeing a lot of tweets. People have come up to us and asked us about it. So, well, at least me. I don't know about you, Preston, but I think we should just dive right in. What do you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think our goal is to kind of explain or kind of clarify a lot of the noise and stuff going on. A lot of people don't understand, okay, what is a takeover bid? Why are they taking them over? Why is the price so low?
Who is taking over Ciboney? All of those things. Yeah.
So I think we are just trying to go through, what we know. We'll try to present our facts. We'll say, okay, this is where you can maybe research this. So we're not just going to give your information and just say, take it what we say as gospel, because, we try to go with the source.
Licensed financial advisors. So if you guys want to make your investment decisions, you have to speak with a licensed financial advisor. But on this show, all we do is talk our own opinions. This is just for entertainment purposes only. All right. So let's dive right into it. I think we should start maybe at the inception of like what is Ciboney or what was Ciboney, right? And it was a holding company. It was actually a group, Ciboney Group Limited. And based on my research, they were really focused in the hospitality industry. So they were engaged in like acquisition, development, and, leasing of like resort properties. So they had a whole bunch of subsidiaries back in the day. I think this was back in the 90s, including Ciboney Hotels Limited, Luxury Resort Enterprises Limited, a ton of other assets they actually held back in the day. And then I guess the older folks would know more about FinSac. That's just something I kept hearing about being in the space. I didn't really know anything about it, but I know my parents know about FinSac and so on. And that was the Jamaican government's bailout company, right? And basically they held FinSac. They held Ciboney, sorry. FinSac held Ciboney. And over the past few years, they've been just disposing of Ciboney's assets. And they've been dividing up the proceeds among the shareholders and so on. And just that's basically what's been happening. And so now Ciboney is actually known as a shell company, right? Where it doesn't have any assets currently, and it's listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, right? So it's a listed company with no assets and no active business, no active operations. So that's really what a shell company is. And so now there is a company called IEC Energy Company Limited that's actually taking over this company, right? And so we're going to be talking about Takeover Bid, what that is, and specific to the Jamaica Stock Exchange, what the rules are like and so on, and what things have to be made public, because a lot of different things have to be made public, and the process and what we're waiting on, right? Because there are some exciting times ahead, in my opinion. and some things that we haven't seen yet. So let's get right into it. What do you think, Preston?
Ciboney used to be essentially a company that owned they were a company in the tourism industry. So
Yeah.
they used to own different resorts and things like that.
Hmm.
And
A lot of land, a lot of resorts.
mhm.
Um,
And eventually they went out of business,
hmm.
and this essentially sold off the different assets. So they sold the resorts and things like that, closed them down, sold what they could sell to other buyers. And but what was left, the company was still listed. So
Exactly.
essentially, it became what you'd call is like a shell company. So
Hmm.
just like with like a hermit crab, or a hermit crab can sometimes like leave its shell and get like a new shell and stuff like that when it grows. It's the same thing. So what was left in the company was a shell. It still was listed. So say for example, if you wanted to become um, listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange for the different benefits. Because remember, for example, when you're a listed company, it's a lot easier to get access to money, because when you're a listed company, there's a lot of like regulations and rules that come into that, and people feel a lot more, but like, businesses feel a lot more comfortable lending money to listed companies because they have a lot more shareholders to answer to. There's a lot more
There's a lot
scrutiny
more
faced.
publicity. Hmm.
Yeah, there's also a lot more publicity versus a private company.
Hmm.
So there are different benefits, and then also the fact that when you're listed, you get marketing and things like that. So like, oh, when it's an IPO and stuff like that, um, there's a lot of news and hype around that, and a lot of times they tend to get more business after the IPO. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because when I look back on like certain Gleaner articles and so on, you realized even from I saw there's a prominent one on the Jamaica Stock Exchange from their website in 2018 where they were literally saying they've been trying to sell Ciboney. I'm gonna send the link in the probably drop the link in the group right now.
Hmm.
But Ciboney Group Limited has advised that their board of directors, this is from way back in 2018, April 2018, has informed by FinSAC that it wishes to dispose of its interest in Ciboney. Ciboney states that FinSAC control approximately 72% of the company's shareholding through some other companies like Trumpton Limited, Crown Eagle Life Insurance, Eagle Merchant Bank, etc. But Ciboney further states that they have noted that FinSAC has advertised its shareholding for sale in the Gleaner on Sunday, April 8th, 2018, inviting interested investors to submit offers on April 30th for its entire shareholding. If it is successful in identifying a purchaser, it is anticipated that this ownership will change hands within the first quarter of the new financial year, etc. So they've been trying to sell Ciboney. FinSac's been trying to sell Ciboney for years. Yeah, can you imagine that though? Like you've been trying to sell this company. You know this company has been for sale, right? There's a big for sale sign for this company on the JSE. Big for sale sign, right? And he's just one day waiting for a buyer. Imagine buying back in 2018, right? What do you think the
Hmm.
price was back in 2018?
I was looking at it. Um, Back then, after it announced, it was like 13 cents, 12 cents. Yeah,
Can you imagine that? What's it trading at today?
dollar. Well, the last time, $1.37.
Can you imagine buying at 13 cents? You put 10 grand in at 13 cents. And now that's worth like what, 100 grand?
But the next thing to do, like, let me pull up the notice. So my money JA, so that you can pull up that we're on Ciboney, so you can see that you can go to all, you can sort the different notices that come out from the JSE. So on September the 22nd, this is, oh no, not no. It was true. Oh yeah, the first notice that came out was June 29th.
Yeah.
Um, so end of June, after the
By the
market
way,
closed.
guys, just letting you know, if you use code Limitless, you get 5% off on My Money JA. So I think you should try one of the accounts.
What I could do is show them why we would use something like My Money JA. So, say we were to try to find the same piece of news with Ciboney, I'd have to go on the JSC's website, go to the instrument lookup, click search, then click Ciboney. Then you can see this. You have to scroll down here. There's no. So it allows you to sort somewhat, but um, this wouldn't. So latest news. Let's see how it pulls up. So I have to go through here. But the thing is, it's nice to be able to see it while you're still on the stock price page versus here, where
Yeah,
it's like a separate page it goes to. And then I have to go down to here. Because say I wanted to look at the price. Because, okay, you see the takeover. Oh, wait, this wasn't the first one. Hold on. Something else came out and the. Yeah. No, not this one. Oh, it went on the other page. This, yeah. So see, I wanted to correlate. When did this come out with the stock price? First off, so see, June 29th, I'd have to go back, go back um, to June 29th to do that. Let's see. So yeah, you can see before it got announced, okay, it got announced after the market closed June 29th, it was 67 cents. And I look how what it went to after on the announcement. It went as high as $1.85.
yeah.
But I don't know, just the convenience of be able to stay on the same page and not have to like, because if you go through, imagine going through something where it's 10 pages down and you have to go all the way back to here, and then it's just to be able to do it all on one area. So I can just see, okay, this came out June 29th, and then I can just go to the chart here. I could go, well, can go, well, let's go last year, June 29th there, you know? And I also like that this is larger versus here. It's, I don't know, it's kind of small. That's a personal preference, but yeah. But yeah, point is June. Where did I put? Did I close it? Oops. Um, June 29th. Ciboney. Oh no, the notice was there. Yeah, so the notice says, so in accordance with the Jamaica Stock Exchange Rule 410, which requires disclosure of the JSC to the JSC of the material information related to listed companies, the directors of Ciboney wish to advise the following. Um, material information is essentially anything that is believed to greatly influence the value of like the stock, whether positively or negatively. So in the case of Ciboney, the fact that they've been looking for someone to buy it for years and there's no assets that the company essentially owns now, that's a big deal. That is material information because it will greatly influence the stock price, and it has. The fact that they found a buyer. You see that they say essentially 72% or the majority shares, and majority is once you go over 50% of Ciboney, which was owned by Finsac, has been sold to a company, Wiltshire Consulting and Advisory Limited, or Wiltshire. Um,
I
and
think
then
we
it
should
said that
highlight
they,
that part where you said have been sold, like it has already been sold. And that notice came out on June 29th. So the
Mhm.
sale had already, begun. Like it was
Well,
already done.
you meant how it's interesting how they said that because they say it's weird because they're like, oh, the agreement was completed versus actual or transfer of shares.
Agreed. Yeah, it's the wording is very it's very
It's,
weird.
it's very no, I'd say it's very
Because
specific. They know what they know what they're doing. But the to mention Wiltshire, Wiltshire itself was kind of just like a intermediary in the transaction. So if you go to Wiltshire's website, I think that's this. They're essentially like an investment bank company founded by this guy named Wayne Ray. So you can see they've also
yeah.
helped out like other listed companies and stuff before. So I'll probably put like a link in the description and stuff. But at a later point, they will explain that they were essentially just they were just taking a company and then transferring it to another company.
Mm.
And essentially, yeah, they bought the company and then they say that they put on essentially a new board of directors, and they list out the different names of the people. So they said they will have some new boards. So the chairman is a guy named Nigel Davey. We'll talk about him later. His family, other members, Davies, and yeah. But one of the interesting parts or important parts to talk about, right? So even though they are agreeing to buy the company, on the Jamaica Stock Exchange rules, whenever someone is essentially taking over a company, or what we said is that the majority ownership is changing, which is over 50% or over half of the company, the rules essentially say that whenever that happens, unless there's a few exceptions, but most of the time you'll have to issue what's known as a takeover bid, right? How I thought about this was that, say you founded a company, Theon, and you listed the company, and I was a shareholder in your company because I believed in your vision for the company. I trusted you, and I was like, yeah, I like where he's going to take the company. And then one day you are like, I'm done with this company. I've made my money. Someone else wants to buy it. I'm going to sell. Me, as the shareholder in your company, I should have the option, as a minority shareholder in your company, I should have the option to say, suppose I don't like the guy that's going to take over your company, and I should have the option to essentially be able to sell. I could sell to that person. I could sell to that person because they have to issue a takeover bid. So essentially,
Yeah.
once the majority ownership is changing, the person, any shareholders, the minority shareholders, and other stuff, they should have the option to also sell if they wanted to. The important part is that whatever price, say the same example, the guy was buying the company from you, whatever price he's buying the company from you at, say that's $1, $10, $5, I am supposed to get the same price. All shareholders are supposed to get the same price. It's not like he can buy your shares at 10 and then buy my shares at $1. Everybody's supposed to get the same price. It's supposed to be equal. So, for example, in the case of Ciboney, if we go down the timeline, another notice came out that this was the is this the takeover? Oh no, this was a notice telling you that they were going to have to issue a takeover bid. And then there was also, interesting enough, there was also a delay with this because they had said that IEC, which is the company that is they are the one who is actually buying Ciboney. So they what do you call it? Wiltshire essentially just passed it on to IEC. IEC is the one that was supposed to be is buying Ciboney. Well, technically, to this day, it has bought them. Let me go to the takeover bid circular. So, if you pay attention to the takeover bid circular, or no, I'd already opened it. Hold on. In the takeover bid circular, there's a price. So, if you look here, it says issued by the company IEC Energy Company or IECEL. They are buying 150,000 units in Ciboney, and they state that the price is 5 cents per share. So the important thing is that it's not like they could have bought the shares from Finsac for 5 cents and then bought our shares for $1, essentially like doing two separate takeover prices. The rules say they have to give the same price to everybody else. And remember that Ciboney didn't have any assets. So why should they be buying the company that doesn't have any assets right now, that has been desperate for a buyer for many, many years? Why should they be buying them closer to the market price just because you want to sell? That's not really how it works. So there is a reason why they're buying it at 5 cents. Because one, they can't just buy it at 5 cents and then buy some shares at 5 cents, and then buy some shares at $1. There's actually like a valuation process that goes into like auditors, and they mentioned in this document we'll share, but they say that essentially auditors have to like value the company and look at it, and this is the price that they deemed fair. And how I think about it, the 5 cents is really just
It's a
it's
reflection of
really
the
just the
company.
price of being listed.
Yeah, it's just
It's
the
almost
price
like
of
the,
being
the real
listed.
value in it is the fact that the company is listed, and it takes a while to become a listed company.
Yeah.
Like it can take
They
several
take
months.
fees
There's
too.
lots of money too. It costs money to become listed. So there's a price for that. So that's essentially how they really got to that $5 price.
Yeah, yeah. I think this takeover bid circular is crucial, and in the steps of the takeover, first you have to make the offer, right, that you want to take over the
Mm-hmm.
company. Then this
Mm-hmm.
document has to be released, right? So there are some key steps, and if you guys look in the there's a rule book, the main market rule book. I know not many people read that, but for those very astute investors, uh,
Premier
under
League for
yeah,
the real fans. Premier League of
Premier
investing.
League over Corner League, as Randy said in one of the episodes. But there is yeah, it outlines what has to happen, and I think it's that section that talks about it's not just takeovers. There's a particular section, but yeah, in relation to takeovers and mergers, I think it's the takeovers and mergers aspect of it. I'd have to look back, but they literally tell you exactly what has to happen. I think that special document, the takeover bid circular, we should delve into it a little bit more, because they do
Mm.
say a lot of things, and we did hear a lot
Oh yes.
on just in general, right? Like what people thought that they may do. I remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing some discourse about, oh, they're gonna buy Ciboney to delist it, and what you said previously is the value of Ciboney is the fact that it is a listed company. Right? There's a lot of value in being a
Yeah.
listed company, and if you look throughout the takeover bid circular, it clearly
Yeah.
states, and even before that, they clearly state they don't
Mm-hmm.
want
So I'm
to
sharing
be
it
listed.
here.
Okay.
So they even bring up in the takeover that says Ciboney is listed on the main market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, right? They said the rules of the stock exchange provide company is eligible for listing on the main market if it has not less than, or it says, I just like, not less always kind of confuses people. I just read it. It needs to have at least 100 shareholders holding not less than, or at least 100 shareholders holding at least 20% of the participating voting shares. So really, what they're saying is that say there's a single shareholder shouldn't own more than 80% of the shares. It has to be somewhat divided. It's not like they just want one shareholder owning all of the company, like 95% of the company, and only 5% being owned. Because that's essentially more like a almost like just really a private company. It's mainly just held by one person versus they want at least some level of like trading and stuff.
And
So what they're saying
diversification
is
as
that
well.
the offer, the person who is buying Ciboney already holds 72%, which I guess brings to your point, Theon, about how they were referencing the wording, because they're essentially saying, yeah, we already own the
Mm-hmm.
72%. The agreement was completed. If it receives acceptance for shares which take its holding beyond the 80% threshold, then the company could be delisted. So they're saying that, hey, if we were to buy more than the 80%, because of the rules, we would have to delist. They're saying to ensure that the offer does not acquire more than 80%, um, then the offer is prepared to accept as many shares as it would take to get the offer to an 80% shareholding, but no more. So essentially, what they're saying is that say they they own their 72%, and suppose um, other people decide, hey, I'm willing to sell at the 5 cent price. That's good
Mm-hmm.
for me. They're saying that they would not take up those excess shares to go over the 80%. So that, and it's funny that they say this multiple times throughout the document.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
just shows that it's the importance of reading, because yeah, you may not be sure, like, oh no, what if they were to delist? But it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty easy to this is pretty early in the document. They state this is what page 4 of the document. They explain that, hey, we don't want to delist this company. It makes no sense to delist the company. What we want to do, we want Ciboney to be remain listed, and then they even go um, into exactly what their plans could be. Was there anything else
Yeah.
you wanted to mention before that?
Uh, Not necessarily, unless you want to talk about IEC, but that is in the plans.
Oh yes, well, we should go.
I
We should
think
go into
that's
IEC
where
then.
the meat of the matter is. I think that's where Siboney's revival or rebirth actually
Mm-hmm.
is, because IEC, innovative energy company. That's usually what I mean. It's a ton of different companies. I guess we'll talk about that later. But the world right now there's a big push into climate change and renewable energy and so on. There's a lot of funding going into that. A lot of different projects you'll realize are being funded by very large international organizations, IDP, etc., like WHO. There's so many, well, maybe not WHO, but other climate change organizations and so on. So that's huge. Right? A lot of money, a lot of investment is being pumped into renewable sources of energy right now, because that's that global shift that we're seeing. And I think that even in Jamaica, I don't know if you can pull up. There's an article, a Gleaner article, talking about Jamaica and our trajectory by 2030, Preston.
The
Um,
goal.
the
Yeah.
goal for renewables, and it actually
Mhm.
breaks down how
The
much they
shift.
want in, yeah, the
Yeah.
shift to, like, I think it was 360 megawatts of wind energy, and another 360 megawatts for solar energy.
Screen. This article you're talking about, June 28th.
Well, I was reading from the mset.gov.jm. That's Ministry of Science and Energy
Oh,
and
send it
Telecommunication.
then.
Yeah, but they
Even though
said
this
by
is funny, this article came June 28th. When did the first Ciboney news come out?
June 29th. Oh boy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You sent it? Oh.
Yeah, I sent it. Um, but that's a whole document, like a very, very long document. I wouldn't I wouldn't really go
This is,
to.
I think this is outdated though, because this is saying 2010. I think this one, the 50% target, that wasn't always the goal. I think initially it was 30%.
Oh yeah, I see it on
So they
JIS.
revised it and then they
Mm-hmm.
increased it to the 30%. So this article that I was talking about, I think, brings in the actual 30% target. 50%, sorry, 50%. Brings it mentions the 50% target.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so essentially Jamaica wants to increase our um usage of renewable energy, because right now most, I think it's 2/3 of our, it's almost like 2/3 of our energy comes from like liquefied natural gas, and
Mm,
then
I don't think it's LNG. It's also, so I mean, the way it's heavy fuel oil, I believe, and so on. So it's really just oil. It's still all just oil. Like
no, but it's
how
mostly
JPS
LNG. It's mostly LNG, and then part of it is oil, but the majority is now LNG though.
LNG. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But either way, we're just trying to move away from oil.
Hmm.
So there is a
Or just
huge,
non-renewable stuff, really.
mhm, a
Yeah.
lot of non-renewable stuff. So I think there's
Yeah.
a huge. Did you send the link, by the way, to the Gleaner article?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Just send it. Yeah, I couldn't find it for a second. Ah, yes, this is it. Oh, but it has the
So
paywall,
see,
bro.
oh,
Awkward.
so it says, for example, the portion. So there's the government has come up with this new plan, Integrated Resource Plan 2. And what they say is that the energy plan to 2030, they're going to add 360 megawatts of wind, 360 megawatts of solar, 375 megawatts of storage, 34 megawatts of hydro. And then they mentioned 2031 to 2040. They also have additional targets: 510 megawatts of wind, 150 megawatts of solar, 225 megawatts of storage. So they're really
Mm,
banking on wind energy, which
I thought you were
points
about to say they're
heavily
really
to
banking
me.
on Wigton.
Well, they're pointing heavily to Wigton, yes. And there was actually another article that I think the Prime Minister had. Yeah, this one, the Prime Minister. So JPS is owned by like these two other companies mainly, and
Yeah.
they had like a meeting with the Prime Minister. So Marubeni, I think they're one of the shareholders. What they were saying was that there were these non-renewable energy plants and Rockfort and Hunts Bay that provide a huge amount of our energy. And they're saying that essentially they want to replace the energy that's provided by those plants with renewable forms of energy, and they're spending big money. You see, I highlighted here, 500 million US they want to spend to upgrade those plants or to switch them to renewable sources. they'll said it will replace 171 megawatts of energy with solar and wind energy. And they say most of it, the interesting part is also most of it is going to have to go into the, most of it is going to be more solar for them. They're banking more
Mm-hmm.
heavily on solar. But yeah, there's a big shift going on in Jamaica with our energy. We're trying to shift away from um,
Using oil. Yeah.
using,
And
or just use non-renewable, I'd say.
non-renewables. Agreed.
Yeah.
And my thing, well, I guess that ties also into what IEC does as a
Mhm.
company.
But actually, the funny part is IEC so far is doing more. They are more. A lot of their stuff aren't necessarily renewable. You know what they were working on.
True.
What I saw is that a lot of the. So let's first say about IEC. So if you go on Google, can search up IEC, this comes up to their website, right? So Innovative Energy Company Limited. So we'll link the website link in the description, but they have this nice part where you go to About Us, and then they essentially, if you click here, download PDF, they you can go into a PDF that will tell you about their business. But if you even read here, IEC is a Jamaican-based company. They're vertically integrated. They've developed, financed, and constructed over 20 energy projects in the US, Central America, Jamaica, costing a total of almost a billion US, 800 million US. So they're not like a small company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up the PDF. I remember in here they go through some of their projects. So like
Yeah.
they at the Norman Manley International Airport. So this was like a solar plant. You can see here, photovoltaic solar plant. This was they did one at Sangsters, another solar plant. But they also do a lot of so this was at a Playa Hotel in Mobe, 1,000 kilowatts CCHP. So CCHP means combined cooling and heating power plant. So I think we spoke about it in our last episode, how to pick a stock. If you haven't looked at it, you should. But essentially, it's a machine. It's like a generator that will provide so the combined cooling, so it can cool stuff. Heating can provide heat for different stuff, whether it's like hot water and things like that. It can use it, and it also provides power or electricity. So, for example, maybe at this hotel, I'm not sure if it could maybe be used to power the ACs, could be used to maybe in heating with related to like the kitchen, and then electricity to turn on power and things like that. So it's like it can do a lot of different. I'm not sure if it's AC, but essentially they can do a lot of different. It can be used for like freezers and stuff like that. So this
Mm-hmm.
isn't this isn't really a lot of times when I was looking at this up, this uses
A lot of
this will
electricity.
use no, as in the generator will use non-renewable stuff. So like it will use LNG and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. They're not necessarily just. A lot of times it's more efficient when you do this versus just having a generator that, or for example, just buying the power from JPS and then using that electricity to cool something or to heat something. It's more efficient. So they still
Mm-hmm.
are saving like the amount of carbon and stuff generated, but they're
And
not
money
the
too,
most of the
because it's
stuff.
more expensive to buy from JPS as well. So it is
Hmm.
an investment for them, not only into the environment, but in for their pocket as well.
Yeah, but you see, they do a lot of different stuff. They do
Mm-hmm.
combined heating power. Sorry, they do combined heating power plants.
Yeah,
They
they
do a
do
lot of
quite a bit of
different
things. They've
projects. They
even
do a lot
worked
of
with
different projects. Look
Jamaica
at this.
Broilers. They did a cogeneration plant with Jamaica Broilers, 16 megawatts.
I see
Right.
this. They even did an ethanol plant with them, 55 million US.
Mm-hmm.
So
They
the
worked
code,
with
yeah.
JB Ethanol Limited. Right. They developed, managed construction, and oversaw commissioning of phases one and two of an ethanol plant in Old Harbor. Right. And that was way
Mhm.
back in '07, '08. Right. West Kingston Power Project, right? That involved the
Mhm.
construction of a 66 megawatt independent power plant for Jamaica Energy Partners, and
Mhm.
that was
And they
commissioned
sell to
in
JPS.
2012. Exactly. So they've done a lot of work. Like they're properly in this industry. They said 3 decades of experience, right, in this industry. So it's not a tiny
Mhm.
company at all, as you were saying. And now they
But the
they
cool wait,
submitted.
I'm saying the key thing we should probably bring is to show the difference of this company.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one of the confusing stuff is that there's multiple companies that have the name Innovative Energy Company. So it may be a bit confusing to say which one, because for example, this Innovative Energy Company Limited that we're showing you, they aren't the one that bought Ciboney. They
True.
are still related to the same people, because if you go to the our team, so let's show. So if you go to the our team, you'll see, okay, the managing director is Nigel Davey. I think this is his son, Kyle Davey. He's the managing director of this company, Innovative Energy Company Limited. And then if you go to the same Ciboney release we were showing you earlier, Nigel Davey is the chairman, Kyle Davey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same principles, but there's a difference because
Mm-hmm.
you notice how, let's see, it'd be in the takeover bid, they specify, let's see, where was it? So look at this. So they give you a nice little diagram here. The chart showing the group structure. So there's Innovative Energy Company Limited, which is this company, which is a Jamaican-owned company.
Mm-hmm.
They own IEC. This is the part that I think was very weird, and I think it confuses people because IEC means Innovative Energy Company. So essentially, they own Innovative Energy Company Limited.
Yeah,
Let
don't
me
feel
do
like
that again for the people and this is just a reminder for any of the audio listeners. It's a lot easier to follow along. We're on YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Limitless Podcast, so we can
mm-hmm.
see we're showing you the document here so it's easier to follow around. So there is IEC, Innovative Energy Company Limited. So this company is the one that essentially now owns Ciboney. So remember we mentioned Wiltshire earlier. Wiltshire was the one who initially bought Ciboney and then just transferred it over to IEC. They just facilitate, I guess they were just working as like a middleman for that. So what we're showing on this website is this top one, Innovative Energy Company Limited,
Yeah.
and they own the company that now owns Ciboney. Then the more confusing part is that there is
Mm-hmm.
another company with the same name, with the same principles. So let's show. So another cool part about My Money JA, the which one is this? Is this the backslash? You can do like a bring up the search bar here. So you can quickly just bring this up, type in wig, and I'm going to go to Wigton and
Oh
I press
yeah, let's
enter
talk about that.
and
Cause
can go to Wigton. So Wigton, let's see. So this would have been under others, I think.
yeah,
So
and it's so
Wigton
funny
has
we
made
mentioned
some.
Wigton before, because there is a relationship as you're about to show between IEC and Wigton, and
Mhm.
they've definitely done projects in the past. It centers around it's collaborative efforts in the renewable energy sector. So the company I believe you're trying to find, I don't know if you
No,
can
I found
see
it.
it.
So cool
Okay.
part about my money JA. Once again, remember you can nicely see the date there. I could sort it by, you notice how there's all where it will include all these reports, but I knew what I was looking for wasn't a report.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just go to other here versus maybe we can see how it would have been. Let's see how it would be. To be fair to the JSE, let's see what it would be. So I'd have to go to the instrument lookup, type in wig, search. So I click here. I don't know why I have. Then Then, so see the problem here. I can only sort by latest. Well, it'd probably be latest news then. So let's see. Is this it? So I can't. You notice how I can't see what this is referencing? Like with
Yeah,
my money JA, I'm pretty sure it showed. Yeah, look at this. This is the
it
same
gives you a little
disclosure.
synopsis. All right, the
It
first
showed
part.
a little
Yeah.
thing there. Um, but yeah. So point is, so there were two notices. There's one that came out from April last year. They say that
Mm-hmm.
Wipton has advised that it entered into two joint venture agreements with IEC SPEI Limited. So remember, IEC means Innovative Energy Company. SPEI is different from this innovative energy company that we're showing here, right? So what they say, the joint venture agreement of a single project, IEC and was this Derillion Energy Jamaica Limited. They were awarded a contract by PAC Kingston Airport, operators of Norman Manley International Airport. Was this the same one they had referenced in the um, this document? Remember they had showed. Yeah, this same one.
Mm-hmm.
It's this same one they mentioned. So they say that they were awarded this solar project at the Norman Manley International Airport. And then following that award, IEC entered into discussions with Wigton with a view of participating in the project as a co-venturer with IEC. So essentially, IEC got this project, and then now they're saying, "Hey, Wigton, we need some help." Wigton's like, "Yeah, man, I'll help." Um, and they say Wigton's project outlay is primarily provision. They're going to help with the management of the project, oversight
Mm-hmm.
of the project, and contribution towards working capital. So they're going to put some money in it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the
It's
things.
brilliant. It's the relationship is it seems like it's a strategic partnership, and it's aimed at basically leveraging each other's expertise and resource to like execute these renewable energy product projects. And I mean, it's beneficial for both entities, and it kind of aligns with the broader renewable energy and sustainability goals. So yeah, as you said, they entered into it, but the company, it's IEC DBA SPEI Limited. It's weird how they have so many different. They have different companies, different names that
Hmm.
can be a bit
Hmm.
confusing. But in my opinion, how
Hmm.
I view it is it's all the same thing. It's all under the same
It's the
innovative.
IEC group of companies.
Ah, yes, IEC
That's why I
Group.
said, and we'll see why I said that too. And then another thing
Mm-hmm.
they say here, a part of the joint venture, this one is just to do green energy solutions. They're saying they'll design, install, operate, and maintain different green energy solutions. So they're not listing a specific solution there. Another important point they bring up here of note: the director of the principal of IEC is a director of Wigton. So if you
Mm-hmm.
look at that, let's go to
Look at
Wigton's.
those
Oh, their
connecting the
annual
dots.
report came out recently. Let's look at their directors. It's loading. Just that deep research. So yeah, let's see.
Premier
So
League.
see, who is this? Nigel Davey. He is the managing director of IEC Company. So once again, there's like looking at the ties of it. So it's not just look at this in isolation. So this was one of
Mm-hmm.
the projects that Wigton had announced. This was last year, April. Another project. So remember they had mentioned, oh, we're gonna do some. We mentioned one project, the Norman Manley one, which Wigton is gonna help us with. But then they say, there's other green energy solutions. Then March this year, Wigton advised, along with its joint venture partner IEC, and say this is a DBA with a. So it means once again how where this is Innovative Energy Company, which is IEC, DBA, which when I looked up says doing business as Innovative Energy Company. And what was the SPEI thing again?
I have no
I looked
idea.
it up.
It was a
Uh we had
special.
looked it
Was
up,
it
you know.
special purpose? I can't even remember.
Uh
I don't think it's that necessary though, bro. You don't have to bust
yeah,
your
but
brain.
essentially I just call them IEC DBA. And then see it says formerly known as IEC SPEI. Entered to a contract in March with the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries,
March of this year.
to design, supply, and install solar systems essentially at certain Essex Valley agricultural development project locations. So some farms really. The contract is valued at 7.3 million US. Once again, a huge contract. Wigton
Hmm.
and IEC are both partnering on.
Huge.
You
In
know?
fact, that actually is so. There's an irrigation project going on. I remember seeing with this
Mm-hmm.
Essex
Oh
Valley
yes. Yep.
agricultural development, and I think it is the largest ag- um, agricultural project that has ever taken place in Jamaica, I believe. It was billions of JMD, and it's for irrigation of that entire area. 'Cause there are lots. It's farmland.
Oh yeah, I
It's
found
farmland.
something. So this says from
Is it 4.3
so
billion?
this is a $4.3 billion project approved by Essex Valley irrigation system. So they're
Mm-hmm.
I guess they want them to help with that solar development to transfer to be renewable and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ceiling budget of 4.3 billion. Yep. So yeah,
Yeah, looks like a lot
doesn't
of
mention anything about
investment
solar
into the
here.
space.
Hmm. But yeah, but to tie it back, one of the things I wanted to mention, we're gonna give you guys one of the things I found. There's this document from the company's office. I mean, you can see this properly. So this is information on the Innovative Energy Company DBA IEC. So I'm just gonna call it IEC DBA. It tells you so it was incorporated in 2014. There are 201 shares issued in the company, and it gives you the share count breakdown. So first off, it tells you the directors. So you can see Jennifer Davy. I think she's the wife of Nigel Davy, and then Connolly Sam. I think I misspelled his name here. And you can see the shareholdings. So here, you notice this is Innovative Energy Company Limited. So what I'm showing you, go back again. What I'm showing you is the shareholdings of IEC DBA. So remember, going again, there's IEC DBA, there's IEC, which is this Innovative Energy Company Limited. That's the one with the website we're showing. So what they're saying here is that 100 of the 200 and one, essentially half of the company is owned by Nigel Davy himself. About 25% is owned by his wife, Jennifer Davy, and then another 25% is owned by Innovative Energy Company Limited. So remember, IEC DBA, this is the company that is partnering with Wigton. It is partly owned by, let me
The
show the
Davies.
document. And it's weird because the Davies are the ones that own Innovative Energy Company Limited, but then the company itself is it's interesting how they set this up. But yeah, it's their company. Or it's their company because Nigel Davy helped. He was the one who founded the company. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hope that's clear. I hope that's clear. Maybe we should show this graph again. So maybe I wonder if I can. Yeah. So essentially, Innovative Energy Company Limited. This is the one with the website that we show that does those billions and billions of dollars in projects. They formed a company called IEC Energy Company Limited. It was specifically to buy Ciboney, but IEC also owns shares. Could do like a little drawing. I wonder if I can do a drawing. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, you're
You're
gonna
seeing
just do
this.
the DBA.
So
You
the
should probably just put
DBA.
DBA. Yeah.
Oh wait, oops. So DBA,
Mm-hmm.
but this is 25%. Oh, my drawing is horrible. Oh my gosh. Should use my iPad or something.
It's fine. You're a doctor,
Owns
bro.
25% of IEC DBA.
Yeah.
So I hope that is a bit more clear. One of the most important part. This is probably the most important part in the document. Where is it? It's
This is
at
a
the
document
end, I
from
think.
company's office or a takeover bid.
No, this is the takeover bid.
Ah,
So
yes.
they
I know what you're
go
gonna say.
into. Is your favorite part? Ah,
Yeah.
so this is very important. So they say the intentions of the offerer. The offerer is the one who is buying it with
Mm-hmm.
respect to Ciboney. So they say the offer acknowledges that Ciboney has had very limited operations for some time, which is true. And the
Mm-hmm.
former majority owners, FinSAC, indicated their intention to sell Ciboney for many, many, many years, so that a new buyer could restore operations to the company. So they say, having acquired a majority interest, and after this mandatory offer process is completed, the offerer, the buyer, anticipates that Ciboney will remain dormant until the board of directors makes further decisions. However, it is not the intention of the offerer to remain dormant permanently. They're not just going to spend a couple million and then just, sit down and whatever. It don't make sense. So it is anticipated that the board will first ensure that the company is compliant with all obligations as a publicly listed company. So they don't want to break the rules. They want to make sure that they're doing the rules properly.
Mm-hmm. Quarterly
Thereafter,
financials, etc.
mhm. Thereafter, determine the capitalization and appropriate mechanism required to make the business operational based on their strategic planning. So they're saying, how are we going to make this company have money to do things? And then they state that there are several options related to this. So they're not saying that they're going to do one of these specifically, but these are some of the things that they possibly could do. So, one, the board could operationalize Ciboney by raising capital and developing business lines in synergy with the group of companies. So, remember how I mentioned group of companies earlier? So, it's not
Mm-hmm.
like they're just gonna, an energy company is gonna buy, or a subsidiary of an energy company is just gonna buy Ciboney and then just go into farming. It don't really make sense, because then why wouldn't you just form another company related to farming and then do that? Like, so they're saying they may raise capital, whether that's debt, equity, and then something in line with the IEC group of companies. The board could also merge Ciboney into an existing company within the group of companies. Remember, we essentially outlined most of those companies within the group. It's either
Mm-hmm.
IEC DBA or IEC itself, or raise capital so that Ciboney acquires an existing company within the group of companies. Once again, there's not many companies within the group. So
Mm-hmm.
could that mean that could that mean that Ciboney merges with IEC DBA, the same business doing partnerships with Wigton? Or could it be that IEC, the same one that we showed with the billions and billions of dollars of projects, it merges with that company, which owns IEC DBA? Well,
Mm-hmm.
partly owns IEC DBA. And
Or
then the board could
does it just
pursue.
acquire it overall?
Mm-hmm,
Right? Can it just raise capital and just buy it out?
mm-hmm. You want to do the last one?
And well, so what I want, the funny part about doing, well, I'll talk about two a bit later. And then the third option, I guess, is the board could pursue other strategies and synergies based on market conditions, their knowledge and experience, and the activities of the group of companies at that time. So, I mean, there are so many different things that can happen in the future. I like that raise capital so Siboney could acquire an existing company within the group of companies. And we've seen things like that before. Even so, one, I don't know why this is coming into my head, but like how let's look at Pulse, right? Who owns Pulse? Like majority shareholder of Pulse.
Kingsley.
That's Kingsley Cooper, right? But he also owned Villaranai. But he sold Villaranai to his company Pulse, of which he owned 91%. I'm thinking of something like this. If the Davies own, or let's say Nigel and Jennifer Davies, if the Davies own a ton of, let's say, IEC, right? Let's say they own, how much of it do they own in total? It would be what,
I
75%
haven't
of I?
of which IEC.
Is
The
that's DBA?
shareholdings. I don't have the shareholdings. Oh, for DBA.
For
Yeah,
DBA,
together.
right? If Ciboney says, okay, we're just gonna acquire DBA, it's so funny how they could set it up in a way where they use Ciboney, they raise funds, use Ciboney, then buy their stake into it, and then they become majority shareholder in DBA, and then they benefit from a lot of the projects and that DBA is actually doing. Or why not buy or merge even with the parent company? There's so many things that can actually happen, and there's so many ways, as you said, that they can raise the money, right? And it said based on market conditions, so on. Does that mean you're going to do it via debt? It all depends on the timing. Is it going to be equity? Are we looking to see a Siboney rights issue or a Siboney APO? Right there, I think there's a lot. Exciting times ahead. Let's just say that. Very exciting times ahead. So, what do you think? What do you think they're gonna do? Just our opinions. Just yeah, you can throw out anything that you think.
Um, I mean, I think they'll likely buy. Well, what I'd say is I know that they will raise money. I think it would likely be a mixture of debt and equity, whether it's the maybe do some debt first and then do some with equity. But the thing is, you also have to factor in interest rates are pretty high right now. So that I
Mm-hmm.
think itself is encouraging companies more to
Do an equity
um,
raise.
do an equity raise. The only thing that I'd say is that because the company right now, I don't think they just go straight to an equity raise, because for the equity raise, you have to be, the shareholders have to be willing to, um, they probably would want some amount of public funds. So yeah, they could put in their own money, but they probably do want some amount of public funds, or funds from other shareholders, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other shareholders would likely want, because Ciboney is essentially coming from nothing, I feel like other shareholders may not just want to give up the money like that. They'd be kind of like, hey, we want to see more about what's going on with the business first, like we're to feel more comfortable actually giving money towards Ciboney, or buying more heavily into the company.
It's funny you say that, because even when I think of, you said they could do a mixture of debt and equity. Let's say they go in the debt route. I think investors would still want that same thing, because they don't really have assets to use as collateral. So it might be harder to raise debt from certain entities, just seeing that,
Or
it's a shell company.
what if IEC lends them money?
There's also that IEC could lend
They
them
could
money.
lend their own company money.
And if they do what they said, like even a
Because
merger.
remember they mentioned that in I on the IEC website, they mentioned that they finance a lot. They help with like the financing of a lot of their projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they
Yeah.
have access to capital and stuff like that. So suppose they could lend money to, kind of like remember the last episode I think we are talking about with Carb Cement and their parent company. Their parent company lent money to them.
TCL. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just not necessarily far fetched that I know what I'm going to do with the company. I lend money to this company, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually they pay me back. Maybe
Exactly.
part of that is through the business growing, but maybe part of that is through an equity raise. I don't know.
Yeah. True. They could have that baked in. Exciting times ahead. Rebirth of Ciboney. Yeah. Well, we have a lot to look forward to. What do you think? Are you
Yeah,
excited?
I mean, I'm excited because I want to see. I think it'd be really interesting to see this company being turned around,
And it's a main
especially
market
after how many
company.
years.
It's a main
Yeah, so
market company, bro.
they almost have like essentially no cap to how much they'd want to raise. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And the
yeah.
industry that they're in is it's the renewable space. I think there's a lot of hype in
Let's
that
say
space.
energy space.
The energy
Energy
space.
space.
I
Yeah,
should, yeah.
energy
Oh,
space.
yeah, let me specify by saying energy space, because it's not necessarily renewables. That's more DBA, but their IEC on a whole, that energy sector can get a lot of capital, and a lot of different things can happen in the future. But yeah, I'm glad. I'm just excited to see something going on in the main market, because I feel like not much has been going. The junior market has been the more buzzier market, I would say, with all the listings and so on. There hasn't been much news or much hype, I would say, within the main market in a minute. And as you said, they can raise a ton of money. So opportunities, they're limitless. Anyways, thank you guys. If you guys like this, these kind of things, or we break down companies, I know there are parts that may be complex, but we encourage you guys to just do your own research, read into it. Just like how you say Matthew had a billion tabs open, it may get to that point, but you know, it's good to know a lot of this information, because when the signs start coming out, when certain information, okay, all right, this is what I researched before, this is where the company may head, right? So multiple ways, multiple paths to profit. All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Right? If you liked it, just like the video. If you loved it, then drop a subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Limitless out.